Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man. Or is it dressing gown man? Yes. Well, this is now the flip side of 3 nights of relentless horror movie watching. Kilt-Man's own improvised horrorthon 2020, the year of COVID. And after very little sleep, I am completely existing in another zone. This is just, I'm acting on fumes. I'm drinking tea again. Whiskey would be a really bad idea right now. I mean, I drank it liberally throughout the day yesterday. But yeah, so we've come through Halloween. This is now the 1st of November. A whole new season begins. The season of darkness. So lest you guys think that the whole Halloween vibe has come to an end. Oh no, 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 no. For most of us gorehounds and horror fiends, it's all year round. Especially now we've got the darker nights and in the lead up to Christmas, because Christmas is a time of ghost stories as well. And some big strange Bailey guy, home invasions aplenty, coming down your chimney. He's doing a bit of trick or treat himself, isn't he? If you've been naughty or nice, oh yeah. So yeah, this ain't going to end. But I'm going to have a bit of a break from it for today, I think. Now, what did I watch last night? Well, first of all, let's be honest. Halloween this year has not been what many of us wanted it to be, and it's been far worse than what we actually thought it may be. We are now facing a new major national lockdown. More on that in a satirical nature later, maybe. But the bad news yesterday, of course, if you kept up with my current videos and the news, Sir Sean Connery died, and that, well, inevitably that took Halloween down, several pegs, even for someone like me, but as a lifelong fan of Sir Sean, inevitably it did, detract. Plus, I was going to go out and do a little jaunt around the cemetery in that mask and werewolf costume, prowling around the gravestones under what was going to be, well, what was a gorgeous blue full moon, a blue hunter's moon. It was like a lot of moons rolled into one, It was a lunar, extravaganza on Halloween night, of all nights. But the cemetery got locked. Even though I've been saying the weather was going to be so bad, it was going to be relentless torrential rain all weekend, that was forecast. It wasn't. Last night was lovely. It was warm. It was like an American Midwest Halloween. So, but I didn't go out in the end. Well, because no one was on the streets. There was no trick-or-treaters. Nothing. Because trick-or-treating has been banned, outlawed. Insane, isn't it? They're going around wearing masks for one thing. And you could keep, all these little trick-or-treaters at socially distanced, sort of intervals. You could even hail candy at them, attached to flaming arrows, of course. But anyway, and then the Scotland game was on, and against Wales in the Rugby Six Nations, and it was a tight game as well. But Scotland did have more possession, and Scotland did win. They did it for Big Tam, for Big Sean. Come on now, had to be done. And what I forgot about, there was a Liverpool game on as well last night. So the horrorthon was postponed and delayed, and then I got round to it. But it was already late by the time I started. So we started with Hammer again. The Devil Rides Out, based on Dennis Wheatley's great black magic novel. Christopher Lee as the Duke de Richelieu, a swashbuckling anti-occultist, suave debonair aristocrat, trying to save Patrick Moore, his friend, the son of a wartime buddy of his, him and his mate Rex, who's flown in just for the occasion on his own little plane to go and save Patrick Moore from the evil clutches of, what the hell is the big bad guy's name? Well, he's played by Charles Gray. Oh my god, Malakar? What is it? I've just watched it. Mukata. See, this is what happens if I start doing videos when I've had no sleep for, what is it now? Well, that's 3 days straight, really. Just a catnap here, a few Zs there. But yeah, Mukata. And this is the film where you see the goat of Mendes at an evil Sabbath, and it's great. It's a great image. He's there atop an altar, and Patrick Mower and this other woman, Tanith, are about to receive their new satanic names and be completely ordained into this cult, this order. But in a great moment of heroism, the Duke de Richelieu and Rex ride a little old jalopy. You get on the running board, I'll put the lights on, and he dazzle the ghost of Mendes, the devil himself, with the headlights. And then he quickly clutch up these two and get him in the back seat, and they're punching and kicking all these cultists off. And I noticed in particular that scene wholly reminded me of the great 70s American road movie come a cult black magic chiller, Race with the Devil. In particular, this film, The Devil Rides Out, has a few car chases in it. And the stunt double was Tanith nicks a car to escape because she's under the influence of Mokata and tries to escape again from safety and sanctuary. And she's bombing it round these country lanes with Rex in hot pursuit, trying to rescue her. But if you're watching a couple of scenes, Tanith, who is gorgeous in reality, is played by a big burly stunt driver with arms like that big in a dress. But it's a great car chase though. And Mokata is influencing Tanith, and he's bringing he makes Rex's windshield. These are topless cars, they've got no roofs. What do you call them? I don't know. Open air cars. What's the phrase? Whatever. And his windshield can be frosts up, and as he's trying to, just goes and punches through it so he can see through the hole and chase her. And then this mist comes out of nowhere, and he ends up crashing. But it's a great sequence. But I did notice that James Bernard's thunderous score is very, very similar to the score from Leonard Rosenman for Race with the Devil. Very, very similar. And although the two worked, at the same time as each other, Race with the Devil came far later, well, a decade later. And so, did Leonard rip off James Bernard? I don't know. But I was struck by the amazing similarity between the tonal, rises and the pure pugilistic, driving, relentless sort of motif. Very, very similar. And a similar theme movie as well. But of course, this film is famous for, they get into the pentagram, and they got a safety circle, and they can't leave it because, as MacArthur says, he's trying to steal back his two disciples. I won't be back, he says, but something else will. So that night, while they're sheltered in the protection of this sort of, circle of the pentagram and all that, they've got candles burning there, and they stand back to back. They're terrorised by a huge superimposed giant tarantula, which is, in the close-ups of its mandibles going, it's actually pretty scary. And then, the angel of death itself arrives on horseback, and the horse has got kind of crazy bat wings, and they're sort of, photographic effect on top. But it's still a great, absolutely incredibly striking and visual sequence, and a bit of a tour de force. And it's rightly held as one of Hammer's shining gems, really, in their crown. Directed by Terence Fisher. And it is great. It always strikes me, because I've read the original book as well, and a lot of Dennis Wheatley stuff, that the Duke de Richelieu in this, he's a wartime hero, he's a man about town, he's this, that and the other, he's a bit of a mover and a shaker, educated man, but on the sly, none of his busy mates knew he knew so much about the occult. Well, what nights of the week was he specialising in that? Because he knows everything. He can name drop the demons. Oh yeah, that's Azaroth, Astaroth, and Beelzebub. But it's great film. What did I watch after that? Well, no Halloween's complete for me without watching this at some point over the period. Kubrick's The Shining, extended cut. I love this movie. Love this to bits. I know many people don't like it. It was hailed as a classic when it came out. It's often referred to as a masterpiece. It's analysed again and again and again by critics and scholars and that, trying to decipher its mysteries, its labyrinthine sort of ideas, visual references and clues. NASA, lots of things going on in this. But it's dominated by great performances, a tremendously dark, grim, gloomy mood, a brooding sense of absolute destiny and fatality, and but so many great sequences. Some people don't like it because it doesn't follow the books. You don't get the topiary coming to life and all that. Well, I didn't like the TV version from Mick Garris, who directed the two-part version for Stephen King, which was more faithful. I didn't like that at all. That was rubbish. The book is great, but the film is radically different in many, many ways, and you can view it very differently each time you watch it. Quite clearly, Jack Nicholson, has a lot of issues to begin with, and you could view what happens to him as his descent into alcohol-addled psychosis and a big nervous breakdown, coupled with writer's block and cabin fever. You can definitely put it down to all of that, except the fact that Wendy, Shelley Duvall, his wife, light of my life, does experience and witness the manifestations of evil there as well, and the supernatural, phenomena, and as does little Danny, Jake Lloyd, with The Shining, and Tony, don't want to go to the Overlook Hotel, and don't shove me up your nose ever again. I didn't like it up there either. There's so many different elements to this, so many subtext, and the pivotal scenes. Scatman Crothers, as the cook, from the Overlook, who has The Shining as well. Some people have The Shining, they just don't know it. And he makes that cross-country journey to go and save them. And the minute he arrives, he gets a fucking fire axe in his chest. Oh, Christ. After all that, mass thousands of miles and driving through, snowbound mountains. And that's all the thanks you get. Jesus. Poor bastard. But it's a great film. I won't linger too long on it because I have a feeling that a lot more Shining stuff is coming your way. So, mum's the word on that one for now. What do we do after that? Again, no Halloween phase is complete for me without Suspiria, Dario Argento's finest moment, finest hour. This is an unrelenting visual and oral tour de force. It is blistering. Visuals to scorch the retina, a sound mix and music score from Goblin that is like the devil's own band jamming together on ecstasy and the blood of virgins. Again, we're talking black magic and witchcraft, and we're talking Jessica Harper, who, as I've said many times, the way she looks in this movie is exactly how my wife, Mrs. Kilt-Man, used to look when I first got to know her, and that's one of the many reasons I was drawn to her. Her wide doe eyes, had this waif-like, diminutive, frail, sort of vulnerable quality, and yet astoundingly beautiful with a cascade of hair and a sheer sense of heroism and valour and self-confidence. That's the wife, by the way. That's the wife. But Jessica Harper as Susie Bannion, the American, the stranger in a strange town, who's come to this German dance academy run by a coven of witches, of course. What are the chances of that, eh? And but she manifests all those skills as well, because she fights back, investigates the strange and horrible, blood-curdling deaths that are taking place there, and uncovers the coven behind it all and defeats them. And I saw that film when I was very young, and I saw it uncut as well, and wow, it left an indelible impression on me. And for atmosphere, mood and sheer terror and style, it's not been equalled. It just hasn't been equalled. I know people these days come to it, they go like, oh, I've heard about this, it's meant to be a masterpiece, it's meant to be, oh, it's really nasty. And then you watch it and you go, the hell's that about? Well, times change, and a masterpiece like this is appreciated by people who experienced it first time round at the time when it blew everything else out the water. It radically changed the style of horror movies, and particularly the genre of stalk and slash, which this comes into, albeit with the black magic angle as well, and the whole supernatural element. But black glove killers, and it's a lot of very nasty as well. But I understand why people don't. They think it's tame. Now, they don't get the pounding music, they don't get the visuals, they don't get the completely illogical sense of narrative and the cross-pollination of genres, the stalk and slash, and the complete supernatural occult movie. I get it, I understand, but to me, it's a powerhouse that has never diminished in style and resonance and impact. And last night was no exception. It blew me away again. It woke me up, good style. The Shining, at the end of it, because The Shining's a very slow movie as well. and yet a lot does happen in it. There's so many great scenes in it. Even the quieter ones have a great potency. But overall, it's a bit of a lulling sort of movie. Devastating in the climax in certain pivotal scenes, but compared to Suspiria, which just builds and builds and builds and builds, Suspiria woke me up again. And then I thought what I'd do was, because it's Halloween and John Carpenter in the original, your unveiling, your debut, Halloween 1978, they're watching the Horrorthon on TV. And it is, of course, Forbidden Planet, The Thing from Another World, and as you'll see in Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2, they're watching Night of the Living Dead as well. That's obviously the capper on the night. So I thought I might recreate some of that. That was my mistake, really. So I watched Forbidden Planet. Yes, it's not really a horror film, is it? But it is on the Halloween Horrorthon. And it is a classic, and it does have an absolutely incredibly memorable monster. The id monster, the Krell. The Krell imagination just unleashed upon this hapless world. Dr. Mobius, Walter Pigeon, Anne Francis as his daughter, and Leslie Nielsen as the intrepid and really stoically faced and dreadfully wooden. And yet that's part of the humour of it, though, that he is so startlingly wooden in it as the captain of the starship. And of course, they land there as a rescue party to people that don't want to be rescued. You've got Robbie the robot there, and you've got the vast underground Krell technology, 10,000 miles down that way, 10,000 miles that way. And you're like, Jesus, it's on a scale you cannot comprehend. Quite true. And the map paintings and the visuals of making people walk alongside these vast map paintings is startlingly great. It's pivotal sci-fi imagery. And Lewis and B.B. Barron, who did the all-electronic score, one of the first, if not the first electronic score for a mainstream movie, definitely presaging the days of synth coming in. Very strange soundtrack. I've got it, and it's wonderful, wonderful stuff. Very atmospheric, very otherworldly, and just it concocts such a bizarre mood for this gorgeous visual tableau. And of course the killings are great. And when you see the id monster getting stronger and stronger, and it's feeding off all the energy, which is growing exponentially from the Krell generators, it's getting bigger. And you just see it outlined, and it's some kind of weird, horrible beetle, crab-like, gremlin type thing. But it will shred people. It's great. I love it. Doctor Who and Tom Baker definitely riffed on it with, was it Planet of Fear? Very similar sort of one. So after that, obviously a film which I've covered a lot, The Thing from Another World. Love this film to bits. Love it. It's in that endless top 5 movies. It's up there. In many ways, I like it as much as my favourite film of all time, which is The Thing. John Carpenter's interpretation of the same original story. I have no introductions unnecessary. I never tire of watching this. And having woken up with Suspiria and thoroughly enjoyed most of that, although I remember drifting off a little bit in this as well. Oops. But you're talking about 4 in the morning at this stage. I put that on and I was jolted awake again. I loved it. It's a black and white, short, sharp shock. It's just excellent. Yes, we've got James Arness from Gunsmoke playing not a shape-shifting alien, but a humanoid carrot. The mind boggles. No, an intellectual carrot. Mind boggles. So, but he's done in like a Boris Karloff, a sub-Boris Karloff Frankenstein's monster sort of makeup with a high fod, flat top and all that. But he's in like an alien jumpsuit, a flight suit. He's got thorn fingers. And because James Arness is 6'5" or 6'6", he's huge, man. I mean, you see him silhouetted in an open doorway, and he picks up a beam of wood, and it's going to be used as a club, and you're like, oh my god. And I love the way that all the Americans are like trying to defend themselves, and they've got plans, they've got axes, they've got fire, kerosene. They're gonna whatever they're gonna do to him at the time. Like the door opens, and they all think they're prepared, but they all go, and they're genuinely frightened. They're like, oh shit. You can see, what's going through their minds. They're all like, oh no, it's over, shit. And I love that. I also love the fact that every time a door opens anywhere once they've got back with the thing in the block of ice and they've blown up this flying saucer, once they got back to camp, every single time a door opens, and it's a lot of crowded sequences, it's Howard Hawks in it, Christian Nyby, but Howard Hawks penchant for filling the screen from end to end with all his cast, all talking amongst themselves. Carpenter riffed on that in his version by having all his cast a lot of times in the same shot, talking amongst themselves. But so you got them all like having a big conflab about whatever, and someone comes in a door, to the extreme side of the screen, and every head turns, and every time a door opens, they're like that, and it's great because you get that sense that they really are on edge. So it makes the whole thing damn well believable, and I love it. Some great shock moments in it, perennial favourite. And then I thought, well, by rights it should finish on Night of the Living Dead, and but I thought, why end on a really bleak note? Because inevitably you would be. I'd be I'd be finishing at dawn today, and Ben would just have been shot in the head, and he's not a zombie, and then all the hooks into the bodies getting thrown onto the pyre, and I thought, really, do I really want to do that? Plus, I'd be ending on another black and white film as well. I like to mix things up a bit, so I went for the obvious, didn't I? Of course. Why wouldn't I? Who wouldn't? Halloween. And what happened? Fell asleep in it, didn't I? And I mean fairly early on as well. Michael had escaped. He's gone. He's gone from here. The evil is gone. And then so was I. And I think, what point? I woke up a couple of times actually. The boogeyman is coming. And I was like, and then I woke up. What was the bit? I saw the end of it, but what was the bit I woke up at? Oh, it was the kids, go down the street to the Mackenzie's house. It was that. So right at the climax. Had I been really dutiful and diligent, I'd have gone back and watched it through again, with no mishaps. That wasn't to be. So it's finished, and I've come in here, made a cup of tea. Daylight. And I need to go to bed. So folks, how did your Halloween go? Was it what you thought? Did you make the most of it? Did you improvise, adapt and overcome? We're in for a really bad haul coming globally. We've already been through one, and now we're going to get it again, because what they've done, we've had the tantalising moments of almost normality, coming back, and then the trick that the government's pull is, well, it's your fault, you're back in this mess, now we've got to do this and lock you all down again. The hypocrisy piles up so high in this country, you need wings to stay above it. So, folks, that was Halloween 2020. I need some sleep. And that light, bright light! That is like the sun burning there. The big blue hunter's full moon last night has been replaced by this. It's blazing, almost Saharan sunrise. So, which should have banished all these guys to the shadows, but it is what it is. So, folks, please, in the meantime, and this sepulchral, rather bizarre in-between time, be happy, be healthy. Try your damnedest to just be yourselves and keep it kilted, keep it Celtic. If you've got a dressing gown, keep it dressing gown as well. And I'm going to see you all Monsters from the Id, John.